Despite the fact that the One Piece anime series has a very charming and cartoony outward appearance, it is a series that has the ability to dive into some surprisingly dark and disturbing storytelling. That's what we get in this week's episode, which is all about the backstory of Trafalgar Law, the death of his family, and the destruction of his hometown, Flevance, the White Town. This week's episode was really disturbing, chills-inducing, and frankly, just brought tears to my eyes. This is a really great beginning to the backstory of Trafalgar Law and Don Quixote do Flamingo, not to mention Corazon and the entire Don Quixote family, who are really the stars of this week's episode. I think aside from the amazing and really well done backstory of Law's town being destroyed, my favorite thing about this week's episode was just getting to see all of the different members of the Don Quixote family in the past, because there are some surprising differences. Let's just sort of run through the lineup. First, there's Senor Pink. In the Dressrosa arc, he looks like a big baby. In the past, he's just a badass gangster. He's so awesome in this episode. He still has his devil fruit abilities. I especially love the scene where he's walking towards all of these soldiers, which are constantly firing at him and the other members of the Don Quixote family, all the while telling the entire backstory about the destruction of the town of Flevance. Otherwise, we have the other character of Vice, who, in the Dressrosa arc, is big and fat. In the past, he's jacked and freaking huge like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he can still use his devil fruit abilities to destroy people with his massive weight. There's also Giola, who very similar. She's much thinner. She looks a little younger. You have Lao Ji, who has a ridiculous outfit, which is kind of like a rabbit suit. He's got these weird ears coming off of his head. Not only that, but he looks a lot younger. It's amazing how much he has aged in such a short amount of time. Of course, we've already seen Diamante and Treble, and we get to see a lot of these guys in action. Baby 5 is just adorable as she's murdering people. That sounds really weird to say out loud, but that's literally what was going on in this week's episode. They're basically busting up this dock and just beating up all on these goons while we get the backstory about the history of Flevance, which is this town which came to riches because they found this material known as white lead. It's like this immaculate special material that apparently is incredibly poisonous, and because of this, all of the neighboring countries of Flevance and the world government decided that they're just going to quarantine everything and let them all just sort of kill themselves. Then they just send in all these soldiers just to sort of clean up, and they murder everyone. This scene is so messed up because you get to see everyone is on the chopping block. Freaking nuns, children, all of Trafalgar Law's family. His parents are gunned down, and even worse, he tries to hide his sister who's suffering from this white lead disease. He hides her in a closet, and when he returns to find her, the entire mansion is on fire. Just seeing him break down is such a disturbing scene, and it really makes you feel for the character of Law all a bit more just by seeing this week's episode. And of course, you get to see the struggle of why he's just so angry at the world now, why he just wants to destroy and kill everything, and he even tries to get his revenge against Corazon at the very end of this week's episode when he tries stabbing him with a sword, giving us our classic to be continued screen. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of One Piece? This was one of the best backstories that I've seen from the entire series. And what I really loved about this one, it didn't waste any time. Within 3.5 minutes, we immediately got right into the episode. And there was a lot of stuff at the beginning I didn't even mention of just Trafalgar Law interacting with the different members of the Don Quixote family as they're all just chilling out and having some food. It's a really intense scene because this is when we start to learn a little bit more about Trafalgar Law and the illness that he actually suffers from. He actually has the same white lead disease, and he's apparently going to die in a few years. Major highlights of this week's episode is definitely getting to see the Don Quixote family just be plain badass when they mop up all these goons in the scene where they're actually telling the story of the town of Flevance, and they're walking as they're getting shot at repeatedly, and it's not even bothering them at all. It just displays how freaking awesome these guys really are, despite the fact that they're just complete weirdos. And the entire backstory of the White Town is also handled really well, and frankly, it's just unapologetic and just downright disturbing. You can really see how messed up it all is, and just the fact that the only way that Law could actually escape was that he actually hid under some dead bodies that actually went across the border. That is just messed up. It's so messed up that even Gladius could nearly contain his food. He was about to throw up when he was telling that part of the story. Otherwise, this episode was just handled really well. It's one of those episodes that, like, I can't do justice enough. You kind of just have to go see it for yourself. It's just handled really, really well, and I can't wait to see what they're going to do in the next episode, because it's going to be more backstory on Law and Doflamingo, and it looks really good. They're handling all of this backstory really well. The voice acting in particular is great, especially of the young Law. You could really feel all of the emotion, especially in that one scene when he sees the hospital actually burning down. You can feel his heart breaking during that scene. Not only that, but I just sort of love, like, the very big similarities between both Trafalgar Law and Doflamingo. And this is, of course, why Doflamingo is probably going to decide to bring him into the Don Quixote crime family, is because, like him, he sort of came from this, like, very rich upbringing that was suddenly sort of ripped away from him, and he now has nothing left but pure hatred and wants to get revenge for everything. The only difference is Doflamingo is the darker side of that coin, with, of course, Law being the light. But we're just going to have to wait and see more as this develops. What I will say is, I loved this episode. It was handled really well. From beginning to end, I was entranced. It was a really great episode. So I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. One Piece fans, you have to check out this one. It's incredibly important. It's not only the big introduction to Trafalgar Law and his family, but actually where he came from and how it's all going to tie into the current Dressrosa arc. So you gotta check it out. It was awesome. So I liked it. 5 out of 5. Good stuff. So, I like this episode a lot, but what about you guys? Did you watch this week's episode of One Piece? Did you have a favorite scene? Did you think the scene of the White Town being destroyed and everybody getting murdered was sad? Do you have a favorite member of the Don Quixote crime family? Do you have, like, a favorite design, like one from the past or one from the future? And what do you want to see from the rest of the Dressrosa arc? Please tell me in the comments section below. Thank you guys for watching my review. Make sure to like it and share it with all of your friends. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and follow us on social media. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby.